Hello, this is Margarita Monet from Edge of Paradise, and you are listening to the Metal Pit Podcast.
Welcome to the Metal Pit Podcast. I'm your host, Blake. If you're new to our podcast, we always talk about a classic metal or hard rock album and go through it song by song. So if you are new to the podcast, please check out all our previous episodes and visit our website, www.themetalpit.org, and follow the Metal Pit on Instagram and Facebook at the Metal Pit. And our YouTube channel is the Metal Pit 666. And follow our Instagram for the podcast, which is at the Metal Pit Podcast. And if you have any comments or album suggestions, email me podcast@themetalpit.org. And today, my guest is one of the writers of the Metal Pit, Georgina. How are you today?
Hi, Blake. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to come and do a podcast, especially for one of my favorite albums ever that we're doing tonight.
Well, I was going to say that I'm feeling Minnesota. I don't know what that means, but that's what I'm feeling.
All right. Sounds
anyway,
good.
So yes, we're going to do Soundgarden, Badmotorfinger. First I'll just ask you, tell me about you and like Soundgarden and maybe when you first heard them and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm a 90s kid, and I hate to say it, but everything began in the schoolyard. Like, I got exposed to so much music, friends just hanging out. Back then, we were young kids, and, we didn't have the internet and cell phones and social media. We were out and about, hanging out in the schoolyard, playing stickball, whatever, smoking cigarettes, listening to heavy metal, talking about concerts and guitarists and stuff like that and what came out. And I have to say it again. I think I've said this almost at every podcast that my biggest education in music was the schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. In my junior high school, especially, that was like the breeding ground of like heavy metal and powwow and battle of the bands, and everybody locally in the area that was into music that had a band. And it was the thing that we did. It was our little, our metal clique, hard rock and heavy metal clique.
Now, do you think this is their third album? Do you think this is the first one you heard, or would you have heard Louder Than Love, their first album?
Yeah, I heard their first album, but this one was the one that kind of resonated with me. This is just the perfect album to me in so many different ways.
I know I heard the first album and I had the first album, but I like the songs Loud Love and Hands All Over, but I think those were the only two songs that I really liked on it.
Right.
On the first one, because they were the more metal ones, I guess.
Right.
Since they are kind of grunge metal, whatever they want to call it. I don't know. But I will say what I got written here. That's one of the most influential in the grunge and heavy metal scene in the early 90s. Badmotorfinger, which is one we're talking about, released in 1991. And it solidified their place in the pantheon of rock legends.
Yes. Yes.
I know a lot of people think the singer, whose name I forget for some reason, but
Chris Cornell? Chris Cornell?
Sorry, I have it down. I just can't see it. But yeah, a lot of people consider him an awesome singer and stuff like that. Me, he's just another singer, but we'll see what you think as we get into that. And I will mention the band The Pretty Reckless does a cover of Loud Love on one of their extra albums they made or whatever.
Right.
If anybody else. Okay, so let's see. First, let's talk about Soundgarden a little. They were formed in 1984 in Seattle, one of the pioneers, like I say, of the grunge movement, blending punk rock, heavy metal, alternative rock. And let's see, the band's lineup for this album that we're going to talk about is Chris Cornell, of course, Kim Fail on guitar, Ben Shepherd on bass, Matt Cameron on drums.
Mhm.
Uh, blah, blah, blah. And yes, it was released on A&M Records. And it was probably their biggest album at the time, of course. And then they had, after that, they had, Super Unknown. Wait, Super Unknown, was that the next one? Super Unknown was 94, yes. And then they had some others. I didn't really, after Super Unknown, I stopped listening to them. How about you? Did you keep listening to them?
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I found that I considered this album to be surprisingly like cerebral and artsy. And there were these odd time signatures where uh, several of the album songs and the lyrics were kind of intended to be like very ambiguous and create this imagery. And if I'm not mistaken, this thing like really was such a great album that it was nominated for the Grammy Award for, if I'm not mistaken, Best Metal Performance in 1992. I think I read, and the album certified double platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America in 1996. So there's a lot of weight here in this album for sure.
And did you listen to any other grunge bands though?
I was a big Pearl Jam fan
Hmm.
that came out, and this is going to come out at the end of the podcast when we do the top 10. One of their albums was is in there. I was a big Pearl Jam fan. I loved Eddie Vedder, and when I thought of Soundgarden, I thought of Pearl Jam. They were kind of like neck and neck. I loved them both, but I loved Soundgarden more because they were heavier.
I never listened to Pearl Jam, even though I have one of their albums. I don't know why I have it, but
10 is really good. 10's a real good
that's
album.
the one I have. I don't know why I have it though. I don't remember.
Ooh.
But I think I listened to it, but it wasn't my thing. I liked Alice in Chains. I guess they were kind of
Mm-hmm.
grunge too, but that's
Yeah.
about it. I would say would be those two bands, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. Because of course
Yeah.
Nirvana was big then too, but
Right. Right.
like Nirvana.
Right.
Anyway,
I mean,
okay.
there were a few. There were, there were Stone Temple Pilots that, are considered grunge. You got Temple of the Dog, which came out from, uh, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam for like this unique collaboration. I actually love Temple of the Dog. Tool came out at the time then. I think there's so many Candlebox, like Mother Love Bone and Bush, and then you have like Silverchair and Garbage. Like there were so many bands that came out at the time. And the Melvins, like I like Mike Patton and Faith No More, and he's always doing like some kind of collaboration with like the Melvins. So there were a lot of big bands during the grunge era. At least I think so.
Okay. Now we're gonna start on the album now. Rusty Cage is the first song. So what do you think of Rusty Cage?
Well, this is one of my favorite hard rock songs for sure. Now, the album kind of starts off with this tight sting, and then it kind of morphs into like these really cool, this really cool riff to Rusty Cage, and there's like this anthemic rock type of feel of a song, and with this wonderful chorus. I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run. Indeed. I don't think I think I feel the same way. Every time I hear this song, I crank it like so darn loud, and I'm like, yeah, I want to break out of my rusty cage without, question. I definitely it pumps you up. And when the song gives way near the end, into this like outro section, you begin to realize that you're witnessing creativity of the highest order, especially from this so-called like quote unquote grunge act. I love this song. Absolutely love it.
I guess I didn't mention this, but yeah, you're a bigger Soundgarden fan than I am. I think back in that year, 91, I did listen to this album a lot, but it's been years since I've listened to this until you said you wanted to do it in an episode. So I listened to it again. And I know I've heard Rusty Cage and Jesus Christ Pose is probably in my playlist on Spotify, but maybe none of the other songs. But yeah, I know that you like them better than I do. But anyway, we're here to. Oh, yeah. Now I wanted to mention, of course, Johnny Cash did a cover. Not sure why, but Johnny Cash did a cover of Rusty Cage. Do you like Johnny Cash?
I actually do. I love Johnny Cash. Like, who doesn't love Johnny Cash?
Yeah, I like Johnny. He's like the only country person I think I like. Well, and Shania Twain, of course, but
Right. Oh.
um. So yeah, so Johnny Cash did a cover of it, and I'm sure that country fans didn't know it was by like I'll say heavy metal group. I guess whatever. I think they're still heavy metal, or at least they were kind of heavy metal back then, anyway, with those two albums or whatever that came out. But anyway, but yeah, it's a good song and it's a good way to start off the album. And it's one of the ones that I mean, I kind of like the whole album, but just it's not something I go back to and listen to regularly. Like some other older stuff, probably, because that's me. Okay, now we get to Outshined. What about this one?
Well, the line, like you started, I'm looking California, but feeling Minnesota, became one of the most memorable Soundgarden lyrics ever. And from what I read, Chris Cornell came up with that line when he was in like this dour mood and he looked at himself in the mirror and he was wearing his typical outfit of like baggy shorts and a t-shirt, which was basically the high fashion of the 90s era. And he realized that he looked like a carefree beachgoer, even though he didn't feel like one. And Outshined, featuring like this Led Zeppelin-esque type of risk and this kind of I don't know, 7/4 time. And you have another anthemic chorus here. Outshined is packed full of like awesome, interesting, melodic hook lines and this hard rock attitude that you simply can't help but bang your head along to it. Show me the power, child. I just love. I really love this album. I just love every song on this album.
And this, I guess this band and song probably did have some influence. I guess Alice in Chains came a little later, maybe than Soundgarden. Maybe not this album, but the
right.
band Soundgarden. I mean, and like you mentioned Tool before too, even though they kind of went more progressive, kind of whatever you want to call it. I didn't really listen to Tool much either, but yeah, that's Outshine is probably one of the most recognizable tracks, I guess, from Soundgarden and on this album. Yeah. And then, okay, this is a weird song title, but anyway, Slaves and Bulldozers.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
What do you think?
I'm not going to say anything negative here on any of these tracks. I remember when I first heard the title, I was like, Slaves and Bulldozers. It's like, oh, it's got to be something to make me think. But for this song, the tempos are definitely slowed down. And it has like this brooding tone, and Slaves and Bulldozers, sorry, I got tongue tied there, in which Chris Cornell, he kind of basically does his best Robert Plant impression during the chorus, at least I think so. And you have the opening up with Ben Shepherd's like this slow burning bass line, and it's packed with this jagged, angular guitar stuff, and it's nowhere near as anthemic as the previous two songs that precede before this one. And although it has like moments of like this crazy, insane creativity, such as Kim's like a tonal guitar solo, which he was like so famous for. And it's actually clocking in. This song clocks in at 6 minutes. And virgin eyes and dirty looks, fucking amazing. Oh, pardon my French, you gotta bleep that out. Sorry, Blake. Love this song.
We can swear, it's fine.
Yeah, all right.
I think we're swearing on every episode, probably.
Oops. I think that was a first for me.
Oh, okay.
Love this song though. as you can see. And you can tell by my conviction when I talk about it.
Yes, and I guess it's one of the heavier ones, but yeah, it's a slower kind of a grinding song. I don't know called that, but and the bass line or the bass is a little more standoutish on this song than some of the other songs.
Right.
Then of course we come to controversial song. I don't really remember. I'm reading this now that it was controversial, I guess, because it's Jesus Christ Pose. I suppose people didn't like that. I don't know. I don't really remember the controversy myself.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about this one.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, the Jesus Christ Pose, there's really a great story behind this song. Well, number one, the technical proficiency is outstanding on this song. Like, it really, really is. And this is not a religious song, but it expresses irritation at celebrities who basically abuse and exploit the image of Jesus Christ on the cross, known as the Jesus Christ pose, which is basically your arms are stretched out, like I'm doing it right now, if everybody had access to video, and your head goes back, right? That is the infamous Jesus Christ pose that everybody kind of does, a lot of celebrities have done. And the pose can be seen in a number of, I hate to say Creed videos, I'm not a big fan, featuring wind-swept Scott Stapp, if you might even remember the video that I'm talking about. But for Soundgarden, for Chris Cornell, it was Jane Addiction's lead singer, Perry Farrell, whose antics I read, and his onstage demeanor, Chris always found it to be very pretentious. And he basically, from what I read, he's the one who inspired this song. And it wasn't just Pharrell, though. It was, flipping through magazines. Chris would see, like, models striking the pose, like sometimes complete with a thorn of crowns. And these folks liken themselves and their troubles to those of Jesus Christ. And it was way too much for Cornell. And he let them have it here in this song. And from what I also read is that Chris attended Catholic school until the 7th grade. And then when his free thinking, rebellious, personality became a little bit of a problem, his mom basically pulled him out along with his sister, and then, like, his inquisitive type of nature, and this kind of rebellious personality served him really well as a songwriter. And like this one, you can hear how his disdain for ignorance and this false sense of persecution. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the song was written by all the members of the band, and you could hear some really, like, solid drum work from Matt Cameron, and Kim as well, and even Ben thrash out some excellent riffage here in this song. The band has this excellent form, and even the biggest Soundgarden like fanatic like myself would find it difficult to get bored of this song, really. And that's what I have to say about Jesus Christ Pose.
Yeah, it sticks in your head too.
It totally does. And there's a lot going on in this song.
After you listen, like, because whatever, I listened to this album a few days ago, and then still I'm saying Jesus Christ Pose in my head, even though I've done other stuff. But
did you do it too? Did you, like, take your arms out and, like,
no, I didn't do that.
Put your head back? All right.
But yeah, so yeah, this is probably my favorite. Well, actually, I do like Loud Love there on that first album, like I mentioned, but this will be one of my favorites anyway. and I'm sure they played it every time live after they made this album. I would imagine. Okay, then we get to Face Pollution. Okay, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, I just smile if everybody can see. Like every time you like announce a song, I'm just smiling here, because I just kind of look forward to talking about this album so much. Well, with Face Pollution, Soundgarden, like they delve into like these profound themes of emotional detachment and kind of like a societal like dehumanization. And the lyrics here convey this sense of disconnection and apathy towards feeling, right? Through these poignant verses, he creates an overwhelming experience of emotions to the stiffness of a rigor mortis and a state of experience that's basically after death, right? The lyrics here leave a lot to be desired. The music contains so many twists and turns that by the end of its like I think it like clocks at 2.5 minutes, you get like a little dizzy. There's a lot going on here, and that doesn't mean that it's not suited for you to bang your head to. In fact, it might be an ideal situation for you to kind of bang your head to it. But after you listen to it a little bit more closely, the song explains to us that Soundgarden were more creative than the majority of their grungy peers. You know, you could hear Cornell in like the middle section here. He's like screaming the title over and over again, like face pollution, face pollution. It's really, really a great song. Like I said, last night I had a great time just kind of getting a refresher, a Badmotorfinger refresher. Hit the spot. I slept like a baby after I listened to this. Take notes, everybody.
Yeah, this is a little kind of a punk influence song, maybe this one.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So it's a little different than the rest of the album. And probably now I didn't go back and listen to the first album again, but it was probably more like maybe a song from that album, possibly. I don't know. I didn't really go back and check. I didn't have that much time. But anyway, yeah, but it shows off the band's roots, I guess, and what they grew up probably listening to themselves. Okay, now we have the song Somewhere.
Yeah, this was a weird title. I was like, I didn't know what to expect when I was
They have a few weird titles here.
Yeah. This was like really weird. It was just kind of basic. It was basic, but I believe Shepherd, Ben Shepherd's songwriting gets a little bit of a shining showcase here on this rock song, which doesn't really feature the greatest of lyrics in the world here, but musically it's not like a simplistic song. It sounds simple, but once you listen to it a little closer, it really isn't. And I really love the ending here when it kind of fades out and then it kind of increases in volume and then, it fades out again. And a really unique song in its own way, for sure. Yes, I see you shaking your head. Yes. Are you in agreement or disagreement?
Well, I'm just reading what I wrote. Is this kind of the closest one to a ballad? I have to kind of refresh my memory. They don't really have a ballad much.
Yeah, no ballad. No ballad.
This is a little slower one, which
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I don't have anything else to say about it.
Okay. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay, now let's talk about weird song titles. Now we have Searching with My Good Eye Closed.
Yeah.
Can you do the sound of the cow?
Yeah, do you hear a cow? The rooster says, here's a pig. The devil says, right? I mean, it's probably best not to read into it too much, like the way that this song starts. Searching with my good eye closed brings the band back to like this more traditional, laid back, grungy, rocky type of song. And after we get this like totally kind of weird introduction, you get the wailing guitars and like this quirky voice comes out. It's definitely a fine song. It's not the highlight of the album, but unsure of the intent, but it's great nonetheless. Now he's searching for a girl with his good eye closed. It's a really a great song. Like I could read into this like there's no tomorrow. It's a great psychedelic track, and the coolest thing is that it's heavy too. So Blake, were you searching with your good eye closed, and then you found your beautiful wife? I'm like, that's what I think he's talking about. I was like, when you're reading the lyrics.
Well, like,
like,
yeah, he talks about putting somebody up on a pedestal.
Yes.
About Jesus Christ again.
But, yeah, true.
But it doesn't really say specifically it's about a girl, but yeah, it might be. I don't know. The lyrics don't make a whole lot of sense to me. I read them here as you were talking. Right. But yeah, it's a trippy song, like you said, and kind of maybe Pink Floyd-ish kind of weirdness at the start of the song or something like that. But yeah, I like the song, but I probably like the weird stuff at the start there. But when he does the devil says this, you kind of think, oh, it's going to be a really heavy one.
Yeah.
I mean, it is heavy, but I mean, it's not anything different necessarily.
Right.
But they have a lot of long song titles. Okay, the next one is Room 1,000 Years Wide. That's a big room. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one?
Well, from like thinking of the lyrics and reading a little bit on what this song meant, the lyrics can be interpreted in many ways, and people that I'm not a Bible scholar. I haven't read the Bible. I don't know about you, Blake, but I have not. They might be able to find parallels to a verse in the book of Revelation. And this is what I read. When 1,000 years come to an end, Satan will let out of his prison. And in this context, the song basically could be about death and judgment. And that's what I got out of it. It's a more traditional grunge rock type of feel. And it's one of the few songs to feature lyrics that weren't written by Chris. And I believe the music was written by Matt Cameron. But it's another great song. Another great song.
Yeah. Sorry.
What are you doing over there? What are you drinking?
I was trying to read some lyrics to see if I understand anything, but not really. But yeah, it's one of the more, maybe it's a more metal influenced song on the album. One of them.
Yes.
I suppose Rustic Age, they're both pretty heavy too, I guess. But yeah. Then we got a short song title.
Yeah.
Mind Riot. Okay, what do you think of Mind Riot?
I love this song. I really do. But this song, I think, is overlooked. Like as I'm talking about it, believe it or not, the echo of this song is still it's ingrained in my head. Like I mentioned to you before we got onto this podcast, like this is one of the albums that literally has been stamped into my subconscious mind. Like I remembered every single lyric in this album, like verbatim. Like I did not, and it's been quite a long time since I've listened to it, but it was such a profound album for me at the time. And Mind Riot reflects a time of political and social unrest, right? You have this opening lines that are painting this vivid image of slipping through these cracks of like a tightrope, walking in 2-ton shoes. It speaks to the feeling of being caught in like the chaos and confusion of the world, which we can say still exists today and probably exist until you and I are maggot food, when everything kind of seems out of control. And the line, now somebody's talking the Third World War, is basically, it's kind of like a chilling reminder of the ongoing like tensions and conflict that plagued the world at that time, but it can carry over even till today, listening to it. War is war, right? Turmoil and chaos, and countries at battle, and blah blah blah. It's a powerful statement about the fear of global catastrophe. And this resonates even more strongly in today's uncertain times. And Mind Riot, I believe it deviates from the norm of the rest of like the album's riffage to kind of give us a break with its kind of like, Indian sounding like guitars. It's definitely a highlight of the album for me. And it shows again this more psychedelic direction that the band would bring to fruition, right, in the next album, which is Super Unknown, which is another great album for sure.
Yes. Some people on where people talk about song meanings think this song is about a person named Andrew Wood who died, but I have no idea who that is. Do you
I have no,
That's-
I don't. You're gonna make me Google this person.
I don't know
No
if he's
idea.
a friend of Chris Cornell's, but these people are just saying what they think, and they might not know what they're talking about either, just like me. And which one? Oh, Mind Right, right. And that's another track that probably sticks with you after you. But I guess a lot of the albums like that with Cornell's vocals and melodic kind of choruses or whatever. Then we get Drawing Flies. And I guess this gets us back to some punk kind of feel, do you think?
Kind of, sort of, but here what it says, listen, it says, we're Chris Cornell and Andrew Wood friends. The story of Chris Cornell and Andrew Wood's friendship is beautiful and it's tragic. The two musicians were known to be best friends and roommates, and even served as mentors to each other, with one even pushing the other to further hone their craft. So Andrew Wood was an American musician who was the lead singer and lyricist for the alternative rock bands Malfunction and Mother Love Bone. So that's who Andrew Wood was. But back to Drawing Flies, and I just kind of literally Google that because I'm like a curious creature. When you tell me something, I have to look it up. I'm just so curious. It's not even funny. Drawing Flies. Well, it opens up with these lyrics. Sitting here like uninvited company, wallowing in my own obscenities. I share a cigarette with negativity, sitting here like wet ashes with X's in my eyes and drawing flies. Right? How cool is this? It's it's a short track, and it's got like these weird, disjointed sections that seem like they never work, but the weird thing is that they actually do. And it features more music from Cameron, more composition from him here. Love it. It's weird. I think there's a saxophone in there here too. So it's really cool. It's really a cool tune. I didn't know what to think of it. Like when I was thinking, Drawing Flies, I was thinking of like Barfly, like the movie. I don't know, it just kind of weird. Just got these different connections going on in my head with this title.
I don't, yeah, I did hear the saxophone. I thought, is that a saxophone I'm hearing?
Yeah,
It doesn't say, it doesn't show me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But sure as hell sounds like one.
But I'm sure somebody playing it. Somebody thinks the song is about Chris Cornell, that he wrote it in a cabin by himself when he was almost going insane. I don't know who's saying this stuff and whether any of it's true. They said it was the last song he wrote, but he obviously didn't die this early in his career.
Right.
So I don't know what this person's talking about. But anyway, I did notice one of the lyrics, which is kind of, I don't know, because I don't know, their lyrics are a little bit more of a, you got to try to figure out what they mean, which I guess is a lot. But he says, use my inspiration for a guillotine. I fire a loaded mental cannon to the page. I guess that's kind of about writing a song, kind of, just in a weird way.
Right. I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned, like, that he was, going insane and stuff like that, given the way that, his death and his demise, right? I think he passed away it down. It was like 2017, and he was 52 years old. And from what I read, and no one would ever probably think. But then again, I think a lot of lyricists and people that are front men or front women, they struggle with depression, and because they're always writing the lyrics, like you could feel the energy um, and their sadness or their gladness in their lyrics. And I think everybody knows at the Metal Pit that I'm like big on lyrics. I really truly listen to what these guys have to say. Don't kid yourself. I listen to to the musicality behind it all, but I really listen to, what the message is in these songs. But anyway, I believe from what I read, he struggled with depression for the majority of his life, and he was only 52 when this wonderful talent left us. And they basically they found him dead in a hotel room in the early hours. And after he performed a concert an hour earlier, I believe it was the Fox Theater, and they ruled his death as a suicide by hanging. And this was a family guy, right? He's got Vicky Cornell. She's on my Facebook. I have the band on my Facebook, and Chris is still on my page, and she still posts things about her husband. He had children and the whole 9 yards. And she even went through this battle with the band. I mean, I won't even, you might have read about that. Did you hear about these lawsuits with the band? Like, she wanted to buy the rights to the music, and the band, she was willing to give them, I don't know if it was $21 million, and they rejected it. And they just kind of went through these like disgusting, ugly lawsuits. But I think they found some kind of common ground now lately where they want to release some new music. And they kind of came to a mutual agreement here with his estate and the royalties and stuff like that. But anywhere there's money, it gets ugly. Money and fame get ugly. But he's got beautiful children. His wife is still back behind, and the fans love his body of work. And it's a shame that he passed away so soon and in this manner. But anyway,
It's ironic. I'll say, I don't want to say it's funny because it's not funny, but it's ironic that you also had, excuse me, Kurt Cobain of
right.
uh, Nirvana, who also passed away, and Staley of Alice in Chains, like three major guys in the grunge, rock, metal, whatever scene that have passed away from who knows. But yeah,
I just, you know what? Go ahead, Blake. I don't know. I couldn't see this person as a personality hanging himself. You know what I mean? I just can't see this
yeah,
beautiful
but I
person
think
doing it.
you can say that about anybody, can't you?
That's
That
true. You can.
puts like
Yeah, you can.
oh oh I forget the yeah I keep but yeah, you can't. I don't know. You can't really say that, but you can't. You don't know for sure. But he was on some drugs too and stuff, right? They found in his system.
Oh, did they? Like, I don't like. Maybe I
Hey,
just kind
wait,
of.
where did I see this? I got
You
some
know what? Come to think about it, like when he was,
his prescription drugs in his
oh,
system.
prescription drugs, right?
They
Okay,
so they were not deemed directly to contribute to his death necessarily,
right,
but yeah, it was after a concert in Detroit, Michigan.
right. I mean, it was interesting. I also read that obviously, Chrissy was the, singer and songwriter. We had Audio Slave, we had Soundgarden, and in 2017, Chester Bennington, who was the singer and the songwriter for Linkin Park, I believe those two were best friends from what I read, and they both passed away in the same year, just like I think 2 months apart by suicide again. So the unfortunate demise of these wonderful front men and lyricists just kind of have, it's like I don't know, history's like repeating itself here, on many levels.
Yeah,
So
and the singer from Black Dahlia Murder also committed suicide. Now they're not
right,
grunge or nothing. I'm just saying that it's another singer. Like it seems like there's a lot of singers. I don't know why. I guess there's
right.
probably a lot of the other things too, but for just talking about singers. Anyway, okay, so that was Drawing Flies. I guess I didn't really say much about it, but you said a lot, and we talked about death. So we'll go
Yeah.
to Holy Water.
Yes.
So what do you think?
This one's a banger. This one's a banger. You've got this really doomy intro, and it takes us on this journey, and it delves into like these themes of spirituality, faith, and the manipulation of truth. Right. The song opens with the line, "The holy water on the brain, and I'm losing sleep." Right, Holy Bible on the nightstand next to me, and these lyrics immediately set the tone for the rest of the song, and you hear little hints here of the struggle between one's personal beliefs and the influence of outside forces. And it's got excellent lyrics. Again, you've got this anthemic chorus here, and there's really nothing not to love here. Um, Holy waters resting me, emphasizing the corrosion and decay caused by like following external influences and I guess ideologies, without questioning like how valid they are. Really, 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 you know, Soundgarden, good stuff. Yeah. Bing bong.
What does it mean?
That was my phone.
Yeah, that song kind of had a little bluesy feel to it, I thought, but of course still pretty heavy. And then we end with New Damage, which is also pretty heavy. What do you think of the closer, New Damage?
Well, it features right the closing track on this album. It's got more of a creative type of riff energy going on, and like alongside with these lyrics, quote unquote, the wreck is going down, get out before you drown. And New Damage, from just kind of reading and bouncing around the internet and saying, hey, New Damage, I was like, there's got to be something behind all this. It just kind of reflects the personal struggles that individuals face. And it serves as a reminder for us to kind of stay proactive in the face of adversity. And you've got these really profound lyrics and this powerful, instrumental stuff going on here in the song. And it really is a timeless piece of art. I love it.
Okay, I'm not going to add to that. Because I don't know, because like I said, I haven't listened to this album. I did listen to it this week, but I mean, I don't. It's not embedded in my brain as well. It's in your brain.
I mean, Hell's Bells, 1991 was such a great year in music, really. And Chris Cornell's voice is one of the most incredible things ever. And, Theo's guitar playing was like no other on this album versus, the other ones. And it's completely original. It's daring, if I should say, in like every aspect. And as you could see, I pretty much like loved the majority of the album, and I think every last song on this album is top quality. And I'd be totally jealous of people who just starting to like get into this because they're in for one of the most exhilarating musical experiences ever, and I highly recommend this album.
Now, do you like this album more than Super Unknown, or?
I do. I do.
Okay, so what are you rating it out of 10?
Drum roll, please. I'm giving it a 10. Yep, I'm giving it a 10.
Now in 91, I listened to this more, which I think I mentioned before, a lot more, and of course I haven't listened to it in years. So if I was rating it back then, I'd probably give it a 9 or a 10 too. But since I haven't listened to it so long or whatever, but it's still a good album, so I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Okay. Do we have anything else to say? We already talked about his murder. Did you ever see Soundgarden live?
No, I didn't. But I saw them on MTV like a ton of times. They were on Headbangers Ball too. Yeah, I saw them extensively on MTV. Got a ton of airplay.
Um, Actually, sorry, I'm reading again about his death. About he had struggled with substance abuse much of his life, but it said he had been sober for several years before his death. So
Mm.
those drugs were prescription drugs, like I said. So I don't know what it doesn't say what they were for. And so yeah, I don't know why. But anyway, so we already covered that. Is there anything else to cover about Soundgarden? Or do you want to get to the top 10 list here?
I'm trying to think. I think.
An Audio Slave. I never listened to Audio Slave, I don't think ever.
Oh, here's something I just read. A little factoid. In 2021, like his wife just went. Like she was just suing everybody left and right. She was so heartbroken. In 2021, Cornell's family settled a different lawsuit. So she's like suing the band, and there was a lawsuit apparently against the doctor that they alleged overprescribed him drugs before his death. So Vicky settled that lawsuit as well. And this is really cute. Um, the most bittersweet moment here as a family um, was at the 61st Grammy Awards. And Chris won the Best Rock Performance uh, for this, posthumously, for this captivating song that was titled When Bad Does Good. And Chris Cornell's family apparently was in attendance, and his daughter Tony and son Christopher accepted the award on his behalf.
Mhm.
So yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Vicky got his estate. She's basically his widow and was named as the executor of the estate, which was estimated at that time to be worth $20 million. So, but he's gone now. He's gone. So that's all I have to add there.
Okay, and it was their probably most successful album and a big influence on the grunge scene. But yeah, they only had a couple albums that were really popular, I think. But he was always popular, and I'm not sure how popular Audio Slave was, but whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go do it. We're gonna do. I guess we didn't really say what we're doing, but yes, we're gonna do our top 10 albums of 1991. And you like the 90s better than I like the 90s.
I love the 90s. I really do. Well, I'm a 90s kid.
Because I was looking at the releases thinking, geez, what am I putting on here?
Yeah. The 91 is a little obscure for sure. But
Anyway,
I found 10. I found 10 that I could put on
I
there.
guess I'll go first.
Go ahead, you go first, Blake.
Okay. So, and I'm starting at number 10. So my number 10, let's see if you remember this group. I think they're from New York, actually. And people will probably go, that's on your top 10 list. But anyway, it's Cycle Sluts from Hell.
Oh my God. I definitely know them. I have a t-shirt. I have their t-shirt. I bought one of their t-shirts. And I saw them on when they did a whole mess of broadcasting here on local shows. They were on like a ton of local shows here. Wow, good for you. Way to go. Oh my God. If they were listening to this, they'd probably blow you a kiss.
I
That's
think
cool.
that's probably the first time I've said the word sluts on this podcast.
Right.
But yeah, I like I think I only like really now that I go back, there's probably only one song that I really like, and that's I Wish You Were a Beer because
yeah, that's a good one.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yes, and I think they only made one album. I don't know. I thought they did come back a few years ago, but I don't think it landed.
Yeah.
I remember going into a record store, CD store, whatever it was at the time, I guess it was 91. I guess. Yeah, that was CDs. But I went in and said I wanted to get, she was, are you looking for something? I said, yes, I'm looking for Psycho Sluts from Hell. She said, well, that's around the corner. No, she didn't. But she said, well, I can order it for you. And I said, no, it's okay. You have to order me Psycho Sluts from Hell. But I did find it somewhere eventually. But anyway.
Right. I think Queen Vixen is on my Facebook page. There was Queen Vixen, Honey One Percenter might be on there too, and then Venus Penis Crusher.
Yeah, cute names.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
oh boy.
so number 9, I got 2 number 4s. What's going on here? Just a second. Okay, sorry, because I don't have them in order, I just put numbers beside them. Okay, number 9, I got Halloween with Pink Bubbles Go Ape. It's kind of a stupid name for an album.
It is quirky.
And it's not one of their best albums.
No, it's not.
Like I say, I don't have a lot in 91 that I really liked. So number 8, which some people probably aren't going to like this, but it is their biggest selling album ever. And of course, that's Metallica and their Black Album. And no, I don't really go back and listen to it much, but I know I did when it came out. And their song Holier Than Thou and Don't Tread on Me and Sad But True. I like those songs. But
did Metallica come out on this on the 91?
Yes, it did.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering. I was like, it did. Yes. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know people don't like Metallica since then, but again, I'm going against other stuff that there isn't much else. I could barely find 10 albums put on my list.
Right.
Which I always have after the 80s ended. I have trouble making lists in the 90s or beyond. I could barely make a top 5 list of now. But anyway, I digress. Okay, number 7, I got Guns N' Roses with Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I'm not going to talk about that. We all know that has like 20 songs, I guess, on 2 albums, something like that. Mm-hmm. November Rain, of course, and whatever. Coma is my favorite Guns N' Roses song, which is like, I think that's 14 minutes long, 12 minutes long, I forget.
Yeah, it's a long one, yeah.
Okay, number 6, I got Infectious Grooves.
Damn.
The Plague That Makes Your Booty Move.
Damn, Blake. Wow.
Well, I always like Suicidal Tendencies. And
right.
Of course, is Mike Muir and Trulio on bass there. At least, I'm not sure the rest of the band, but yeah, so that's my number 6. Number 5, now I have 2 number 4s, so I have to decide who's number 5. I'll say Motorhead 1916 album is my number 5 album. Number 4 is Ozzy's No More Tears, even though, again, it's an album I never go back and listen to, except maybe that song, No More Tears, with, Zakk Wylde and his pinch harmonics that he plays every other second on songs. And okay, so, but yeah. And number 3, I got thrash band Overkill with Horoscope. Probably not one of my favorite Overkill albums, but again, not a lot that I'm choosing from in this year. Number 2, I got, I have an honorable mention. Try not to let me forget. Okay, number 2.
You know what? I'll never forget. Like every time I hear Overkill, I'll never forget. I saw Overkill at BB King's such a long time ago, but that space was so small and the acoustics were so awesome. And I'll never forget, the room was so packed that I've never felt such a wall of sound in any show as I did at that Overkill show. Like till today, like I'll never forget the energy that came out of the crowd and the amplifiers, and just like it was amazing. And they never disappoint. Never disappoint. So that's a good one. But I have to agree with you. You made my list too.
Oh, okay. Let's see. At number 2, I got Metal Church with The Human Factor.
Ooh.
Now, I'd like the first 2 Metal Church albums better, but with David Wayne vocals and another singer that passed away. But anyway, that was a good album too. And my number 1 album, I don't know if you can guess or not. Probably not. Can you guess? Can you guess what my number 1 is?
I know it's not Soundgarden, Badmotorfinger. I know that.
No, it's not.
I'm going, I don't know.
They're from New York. Are they on your list? I don't know.
No, they're not. Okay. They're not.
Sabotage.
Damn! Oh my God. And I was going to say, I was like, I bet you. And I was like, wow, okay.
Streets, the rock opera album.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, that's my number one. And my honorable mention is Scatterbrain and their album Scam Boogery. Do you know this group? Do you remember Scatterbrain?
Scatterbrain, I remember like their t-shirts
Well, they
and
had a song on there called "Don't Call Me Dude."
yeah, don't call me dude. I remember it.
It's a good song. It's a good metal.
It definitely
Every
is.
song was, stupid lyrics and stuff. But
But
anyway,
it was fun. It was catchy, and like we dug it. You still remember it.
but
Depends as
anyway,
well.
okay. Now let's hear your top 10.
Very nice. Let me see. I mean, it took a while. Like I went across the board here. I didn't stay in the metal category. I kind of bounced around genres here because of what came out that year. Obviously, we had like grunge and uh, other stuff like that. Number 10, I picked Armored Saint, symbol of salvation. For me is number 10. Number 9, I chose Cathedral and Forest of Equilibrium. And number 8, which I've never really put these guys on any, but I was like, in 91, I was like, this is a pretty good album. I picked Typo Negative, Slow, Deep, and Hard. I actually went there. And I
went there.
Yeah, but don't go there. Don't go there now. Kids are listening.
Talk about sluts again?
Oh my God. Those girls were great. They looked awesome too. Number 7 is I picked the
wait. I don't want to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
I was in New York. I don't know what year this was. Year was this? It doesn't matter. But it was probably 2 years after the 9/11 thing, just because I remember, because I was going to go the year
Right.
9/11 to New York, and then it got obviously canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I went and I had a friend in Brooklyn, and we went to a bar. I can't remember if it was I can't remember the name of the bar. But anyway, Peter Steele walked in while we were in there just to come in and hang out, or not with us, of course, but we saw Peter Steele walk in from Typo Negative, walked into the bar. So
Was it Duff's? Like he was like infamous for going to Duff's in Brooklyn.
well, I think it was in Brooklyn. They can't ask me Frank because I have no idea where she is.
Right. It was probably Duff's. Probably Duff's.
But yeah, I can't remember because this was back before cell phones, so it was
Right.
taking pictures and things like that and bars or whatever. But I just remember, yeah, Peter Steele walking. Anyway, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, don't be sorry. But number 7 was the Cult Ceremony. Number 6 was Ozzy. No More Tears. A Horoscope, Overkill's Horoscope made number 5. Number 4 was the Black Album. I picked Metallica. Number 3, I put Pearl Jam 10. I actually really love that album. Like I said, I think they were kind of neck and neck with Soundgarden, but as I mentioned, like Soundgarden was definitely much more of a heavier sound, and I kind of gravitated more towards Chris's vocals too. Number 2, I think a lot of people would probably be like surprised at this one. It was people that know me because I'm a David Lee Roth girl. For Van Halen, I was a Roth girl. Like I loved. He's one of my favorite frontmen. But I chose Unlawful for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge with Sammy Hagar because I gave it another listen. I said, hey, you know what, a few times, and I was like, this is actually a pretty good album. So I picked that as number 2.
What are the initials on that song title?
For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. It's a freaking mouthful, I know. F-U, right, exactly. You know what? You got, yes, but you know what? I already kind of, I already dropped the F-bomb in here on this podcast once before. I was like, I would be excommunicated if I keep on.
No, David Lee Roth had an album that year.
In 91?
Yeah, he did, but it wasn't one. I don't have it on but I saw it on the list because I like David Lee Roth too. But this was back. Steve Vai was gone by then because Steve Vai was really the reason I like.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he had so many great.
But he did have an album that year too. I just forget what it's called now, but there wasn't much good on it, I don't think.
I'm trying to think. Now you caught me. You caught me off guard. You caught me off guard with that one.
Well, you read your first one, and then I'll tell you what it is.
Right, look it up. And drum roll, please. It's going to be Badmotorfinger, number one. Soundgarden this was like a huge staple for me in the 90s in my, music catalog. I mean, this literally, I'm not kidding you. This album has been like stuck in my head without even listening to it. It's just kind of ingrained in here somewhere in this head of mine. In my subconscious, it's just there. So that I chose that as number one.
Okay, now the album. Now, if you're on Spotify, it shows in David Lee Roth discography. It says album A Little In and Off came out in
Ah,
1990, but if you click on it, it says 1991, and I'm sure Wikipedia said it was 1991. So yeah, Hammerhead Shark. That's the only song as I look at the song. Oh, and since I remember Sensible Shoes, but there's the only two songs
yes,
that
yes,
ring a
yes.
bell to my head. So I don't think it was one of my favorite albums.
Right. I remember that was A Little Is Enough. I remember that he had there was a little red devil, right? And
Yeah.
he's like sitting down in the chair, and I think he's clutching his tummy or he's laughing or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're finished, and I think we did about an hour, didn't we? I think we did. So I guess we might as well close it. Have anything left to say here? Thanks for joining me, Georgina.
Oh no, my pleasure. My pleasure, Blake, as always. And it's my pleasure to kind of chat about this and have people listen, to me talk about it. It really was one of my favorite albums in the 90s. And I hope it was yours too.
Okay,
Whoever's
so if you
listening.
don't, if you've never listened to Soundgarden, here you go. Listen to Badmotorfinger or maybe The Super Unknown. Those are probably the two best albums. And I was
Well,
going to mention this earlier, but I forgot. But just this last week, we passed 10,000 episode downloads of our podcast.
that's
So
awesome.
thanks everybody for listening, and we continue to
Awesome,
grow. So
everybody.
please subscribe, and if you can review somewhere,
That's
comment,
awesome.
anything like that. So thanks everybody for listening tonight and other nights, and we will see you next week. Thanks and goodbye.
Good night, everybody.